When we study biology, we usually classify things as living or non-living. Living organisms grow, reproduce, carry out metabolism, and respond to their surroundings. This classification works well for most organisms, but viruses create an interesting exception. If we compare viruses with living organisms, we notice that they do not have a cellular structure. They lack cytoplasm, organelles, and independent metabolic systems, which are normally considered essential features of life.
Because of this, when viruses exist outside a living cell, they remain completely inactive. They do not grow, they do not produce energy, and they cannot reproduce on their own.
And that is why, outside the host, viruses often resemble non-living chemical particles rather than living organisms. In fact, some viruses can even be crystallized, a property usually associated with non-living matter.
However, the situation changes dramatically once a virus enters a suitable host cell. The viral genetic material becomes active and begins to use the host cell's machinery to produce new virus particles. This process allows viruses to replicate and pass genetic information to the next generation, which is considered an important characteristic of living systems.
So even though viruses lack their own metabolic machinery, they are still able to multiply by depending entirely on the host cell's energy and resources. This dependence is the reason viruses are described as obligate intracellular parasites, meaning they can express life-like activities only inside a living cell.
Because of this dual behavior, scientists avoid placing viruses strictly in either category. Outside the host, they appear non-living, while inside the host, they show properties associated with life. This unique position makes viruses scientifically important since they challenge the traditional definition of life and force us to think about where life actually begins.
In that sense, viruses help bridge the gap between chemistry and biology, showing how simple genetic systems can behave like living entities under the right conditions.
And that is why the question of whether viruses are living or non-living remains one of the most fascinating discussions in biology.